jeg meg om noen tanker om meg og mitt. Og jeg tror de aller fleste andre også gjør det, fordi til syvende og sist så er det jo det spørsmålet vi stiller oss. What's in it for me? Som jeg sa i stad, når jeg så denne muligheten for første gang, så jeg at den var stor, men jeg så ikke meg selv gjøre det så veldig stort. Og mitt første mål, det var jo, som jeg sa, kunne si opp den jobben i BBS. Det var der jeg var. Og som Christian snakket om i stad, med disse 84% som stoler på venner og bekjente, så tilhører nok også jeg i stor grad de prosentene. For det var nemlig en dame som jeg kjente ikke så veldig godt. Vi var ikke venninner i den forstand, men vi hadde snakket en del sammen, og hun var magedanslæreren min. Hun sitter her på andre grad og smiler. Ja. Som også utdannet fysioterapeut, noe som jeg synes var en veldig trygghet når jeg skulle gå og lære å danse. Jeg hadde fortalt Synnøve at jeg hadde en drøm om å drive denne aromaterapien, men at jeg forstod at jeg ikke hadde råd til det, rett og slett. Så da Synnøve ringte meg en formiddag og sa at, vet du hva? Da hadde hun og hennes mann kommet over en mulighet som de skulle gjøre sammen. Jeg hadde også hatt hilst på mannen hennes, som var lege. Og grunnen til at jeg sier det med at de er fysioterapeuter og leger og sånn, det er fordi for meg så var det også en trygghet. Så når Synnøve da ringer og sier at hun har funnet en mulighet som hun og hennes mann skulle gjøre sammen, og som hun tenkte på meg, fordi dette var noe jeg kunne gjøre som et tillegg når jeg fikk denne aromaterapien opp å stå, så var det ikke noe pyramidespørsmål som falt ned i hodet mitt, for det var helt fjernt at hun skulle invitere meg inn i noe sånt, så alt det var liksom plukket vekk fra før. Eller bare i kraft at det var hun som spurte da. Så jeg kom hjem til henne, fikk en demonstrasjon av denne anti-tyngdekraftapparatet som Christian snakket om i stad. Og det var nok for meg. Når jeg så meg i speilet da, for da får du nemlig behandling på halve ansiktet, og etter 5 minutter så ser du en betydelig forskjell. Så husker jeg bare sa, wow, fortell meg hvordan jeg kan tjene penger på det her, og så er jeg med. For dette her er det flere enn meg som vil ha. Vi snakket om, eller Kari snakket om dette med å se en mulighet. Noen ser det store bildet med en gang, og bare hiver seg ut i det. Og kaster alle trosser som holder deg til land, måtte jeg på si, og kaster seg ut på dypt vann og har tillit til at man får det til. Jeg var ikke helt der, jeg gikk litt mer stykkevis og delt. Og det er noe som dere som sitter her som er nye, det er garantert noen som sitter og bare tenker at yes, jeg kan ikke bare få komme meg ut herfra i dag så jeg kan begynne, mens andre sitter og tenker at ja, dette høres spennende ut, jeg må kanskje bare vite litt mer usikker på seg selv. Dere har kanskje sett, det var ikke den som oppe her akkurat nå, men på de forholdene vi har, så står det OTG. Det er de 3 bokstavene, de står for One Team Global, og det er et samarbeidsorgan som drives over hele verden. Det er lederdrevet, og det er en non-profit organisasjon, som også er en helt enestående læringsplattform. Sånn at vit alle dere som sitter og tenker på og lurer på om dere vil få support. Ja, det vil dere få både av den som har invitert dere, enten den sitter her fysisk sammen med dere nå i dag, eller om den er langt av gårde, spiller egentlig ingen rolle. Og så har vi det store samarbeidet som man inviteres inn i, og til å bare ta for seg av. Så bare så dere har det helt klart. Så skal vi få en kar opp på scenen. Jeg synes det er veldig moro å ønske velkommen her i dag. Han er en representant fra selskapet Nusken. Han er en Provo-gutt, og selskapet har også sitt hovedsete i Provo. Der har jeg vært flere ganger. Det er også noe av det å få tryggheten på plass med partneren deres, når vi ikke har et fysisk sted å gå til jobb på. Så er det noe med å hilse på dem på hjemmebane. Så det anbefaler dere virkelig alle sammen, ta en tur ned og hilse på dem. Han er, sånn titel, så har han Vice President of Sales and Marketing i denne regionen som vi tilhører. Vi kaller det for EMEA, Europe, Middle East and Africa. Han har vært 9 år i Nuskin. Tidligere så har han også vært direktør for Mellom- og Syd-Europa. Han har vært General Manager of Latin-America, Director of Sales for US Markets. Så som dere skjønner så har han allerede en bred erfaring og kompetanse både innenfor ulike markeder og kulturer. For det er kulturforskjeller i disse 54 markedene. So it's a very great pleasure for me to welcome you on the stage here today. And please help me give a warm welcome to Nick Johnson.
It's always terrifying being introduced when you have no idea what they're saying. I mean, they could have said, and now please welcome some idiot who looks like total crap. Nick Johnson, and everybody goes. It's scary, but it's good to be here. Very good to be here. I came all the way from Copenhagen this morning. Such a far land away. I dropped off my son with the babysitter just off the train, and he's off playing in Oslo today. I don't know where, but I'm sure he's fine. Right? He's up for it. He's 3.5, everything's fun. And then we go back to Copenhagen. It's good to be here. Thank you for inviting me. I did understand a little bit about the intro, what I've done with the company, and that sort of thing. It's good to be back working in EMEA after a year working with Latin America. I've been working with well over half of the markets in Nuskin, and I have to say that these markets here in EMEA are my favorite for a number of reasons. And that's not just because I'm here today. I don't say this everywhere I go, actually, but it really is a pleasure to be working with EMEA, Europe, Middle East, Africa, once again. And I like talking about problems, I like talking about solutions, I like talking about questions and answers. I'm an inquisitive person. And I want to share with you a little bit of my story, not to say that my story is terribly interesting, but the things that I've learned along the way are a little bit interesting, and I hope that you find them to be valuable. At least they're valuable to me. And therefore, in a way, they're valuable to you because I work at the company and I have a lot of influence at the company. I'm a very important person. So then this should be interesting to you as well. So let's start. Before I came to Nuskin, this is what I did. So I'm from Provo, Utah, originally. Has anybody been to Provo? Yeah. Most people, when they go to the United States, first go to New York, and then Los Angeles. But number 3 is always Provo, Utah. It's just everybody's favorite place. I'm from there. I went to school there, and I lived in Argentina for a number of years, and then I moved back to Utah. I was in the final year of university, and I was going to be an attorney. I'm so glad I am not. Are there any attorneys here? A few? Maybe? Okay. I was going to be an attorney. I was studying to go to law school after my undergraduate degree. And then an acquaintance of mine approached me about a business that he had started, and this is in 2001 is when he started this business. And this is, now he approached me in 2002 because he wanted to do something bigger. What it was in a special event production company that only did outdoor theater, so outdoor movies. And nobody, at least in the United States, was doing this at the time. And so he said, I need a partner. I said, okay, I can do that. What does that mean? Well, I need money. Ah, okay. Well, I'm a poor university student. I don't have much money. I said, okay, I'll take whatever money you have. And because I liked what he was doing, I took what money I had and I said, okay, I will invest in this little company. And so I became the partner in this company, and I was the first, technically I was the first employee of the company. I didn't have many skills, except one, and this skill has brought me a lot throughout the years. I have no pride. I have no dignity. I have no shame. I am shameless. This one unique skill that I have was probably what he recognized in me and said, this is the person I want working with me. We were kids. I mean, we were very, very young working in this business. When I started, we had a website. I won't tell you the name of the company because I'm no longer affiliated with the company. But we had a website that had a couple of really interesting images of wonderful places of some events that we had done. We had a laptop computer, and we had a phone, and an internet connection. And that was it. That was our business. My job was to bring in more business. And since I have one unique talent, which is I don't care what people say, because I'm shameless, I know how to talk to people. So what I would do is I would show up in this little apartment, which was our office. It was one small room in a small apartment, and we were supposed to be this company that did amazing things. We didn't have much. But I spoke to at least 200 people per day. Yeah. On the phone, just calling. Sometimes just randomly. Just calling people from the phone book. I would Google like interesting things like colleges in California. So I'd find a list of colleges and I would just call the main number, like the University of California, Berkeley. And I would ask, can I speak to someone who does their special events on campus? It's like the main number. I mean, you don't just call that, but I would find the person, because I would call back and I would call back and I would call back until I found the person who could make a decision. And then once I showed them a picture, it was done. They could immediately see what we were able to do. Well, after a couple of years, it turned into a relatively big business. I was spending now my time in California, which is where most of our business was. And we had opened up a couple of offices by then. Not only that, but we had this franchising network because now we were taking the equipment that we used for our productions and we would sell it to people and create this franchise network. I learned a valuable lesson in those days. Number one, you just talk to people because they're not scary, they're just people. So I talked to 200 people a day, and then I hired people to talk to at least 200 people a day, and then we multiplied our efforts, and that's how we grew the business. Sound familiar? Yeah. Except I don't. Be honest, do you talk to 200 people per day? Maybe. Maybe by the way you connect with people online. Maybe you connect with about 200 people per day. Maybe 2,000 people per day. Maybe 10,000 people per day. Okay, interesting. Now we're kind of talking the same language, right? We're connecting with people. Well, at the end of a couple of years, I learned my first real valuable lesson in business, which was the following. Your business partner matters. It matters. He or she matters. Unfortunately, by this time, this business partner of mine was not only my business partner, he was now my brother-in-law. And he was also not that great of a guy. He turned out to be a little bit dishonest, not only in his personal life, but also in his professional life. I didn't agree with that. So I left. I left him to do his thing. It's a long, sad story. Terribly sad. But then I found Nu Skin. Unfortunately, the first person who ever spoke to me about Nu Skin was an employee, not a distributor. And I'm from Provo. Everybody knows Nu Skin, but they don't know what they do. Like, oh, what is this? They have this building, and nobody knows what they do, but there's a fountain. What does that mean? This fountain. So I was approached by my sister, who was married to my business partner. And she was an employee with the company, and she did the conventions and a lot of the trips that they would do. She said, I think that you would like it, because you were in the event business, you were in client relations, you were in sales. I said, I don't know. I'm just kind of content traveling around and skiing, because I love to ski. So I just traveled around and skied for a while. I'd never had a 9-to-5 job, so I thought that would be interesting. What was that like? You go to work and then you like stop working? Okay, I'll try it. So she approached me first. I knew nothing about the company. Nothing. Except my sister liked it, and we both were in the event business. And I like people, and she thought, okay, you'd be great at Nu Skin. Turns out, I really loved it. Really loved it from the first day. And here's why. Let me explain. That's me in 1991, I think. That's my amazing fashion sense at the time. This is my father. This is my grandfather. This is my younger brother. Here's why I really fell in love with Nu Skin. My father, he has always owned his own business. He was a traditional businessman. He wouldn't describe himself as an entrepreneur. He would describe himself as a businessman, self-employed. My grandfather was a dentist. He did very well in the 1960s and 70s when he was practicing. Everything fine. My father was a traditional businessman, although he hated business. In fact, he hated what he did. He just didn't like it. But he was in business. My father didn't understand Nu Skin at all. Now, he had 2 of his children working at the company. He himself, still living in Provo, Utah, had no idea what Nu Skin was. And he asked the question, what do you do? Well, to answer that question, I have to answer what our sales leaders do, what our distributor partners do. He said, yeah, what is this? I mean, describe this to me. I said, okay. My training at Nu Skin was the following. I got a brochure about the compensation plan. That was it. They literally hired me and gave me a brochure of the compensation plan and said, okay, just learn that. Oh, it's great. That's easy. One brochure is all I need to know. Perfect. So I learned that one brochure. So after 5 days, and I was talking to my father, I knew the compensation plan. And I understood the brilliance behind the compensation plan. And so when he asked me, what do you do? I said, well, let me describe what our distributors do, what these entrepreneurs are doing. I said, Dad, in your business, how many employees have you had over the years? And he said, probably 100 or so. Not a large business, so maybe 100. I said, okay, of those employees, how many really became very, very good at what they did? To the point where you were no longer necessary. And he said, 13. And I knew he was going to say 13 because in a small business, a family type business, I knew my father's employees, right? So I knew who these 13 people were. And so I asked him a very painful question. I said, where are these 13 people? He rolled his eyes. He said, you know where they are. Do you know where they were? They weren't working for my father anymore. Why? because they were as good or better than him in that business. So where did they go? They started their own business, identical to my father's, and started taking his clients. And my father just said, yeah, I mean, you know where they are. They took a portion of my business and I had to keep replacing it in order to maintain income levels. And he said, why? Why do you ask? I said, well, isn't that a little crazy? I mean, isn't it a little insane that you just accept that as business? Because that's what he said. That's business. That's business. I said, so you're trading your competition. He said, well, no. I mean, I said, that's what you just described. He said, yeah, but it doesn't. Well, yeah. So he had to admit that what he was doing for decades was trading his competition. And I said, doesn't that sound crazy? He said, well, yeah, now you make it sound like I'm crazy. I said, maybe you are. And he said, well, what does this have to do with Nu Skin? I said, okay, what if all of these people, these great people who actually turned out to be as good or better than you, who left, what if you had continuously earned 5% of the output of their businesses? He quickly did the math and said, well, that'd be interesting. And he said, why do you ask? I said, because that's Nu Skin. You just want to surround yourself with people who are eventually as good or better than you, hopefully better than you, and then collect, let's say, 5% on whatever they do, forever, as long as they're producing. He said, yeah, but that doesn't work in business. I said, what? So, yeah, I mean, but that doesn't exist. He said, no, but that's what I'm describing to you. It does exist. That's exactly what Nu Skin is. I said, of course they have these wonderful products as well. I said, okay, tell me about the products. Anyway, so this is our conversation. He finally understood in that moment that he was trading his competition and that he kind of felt a little crazy for doing it for so long, over and over and over and over again, without anything but less income and pain to show for it. And so it's a difference in models. That was it. So he understood in that moment. Unfortunately, nobody's approached him about Nu Skin yet. No one. Not a soul. Oh well, he's still there. I'll give you his name and phone number. You can all call him. So I want to ask this question, because and this is why I love this company, because it responds to the following. Again, I love questions, I love answers. 90,000. Do you know what this number represents? 90,000. 90,000. This is the average number of hours that a person works during a lifetime. 90,000 hours. If you do the following calculation. Just do that calculation and start thinking about that, and then immediately begin to get really sad inside. This just makes you really sad inside. Because then you realize, well, unless I get another life, this is how I spend my time. Everybody's working towards 90,000 hours. Just almost mindlessly. It's like, well, if I get there, I get there. If you're not conscious of it, you just do it. Or this is what most people do. And it's fine. 90,000 is fine if that's what your goal is. But nobody, I don't think anybody had this goal when they were growing up, or even now. It's like, how do I get to 90,000 hours so I can be done? People don't think this way. This is just a byproduct of not thinking, in my opinion. This is just a byproduct of simply not thinking and not realizing. And frankly, this doesn't matter if you're a baby boomer. It doesn't matter if you're, I think like I'm technically like Gen X, which is really cool. Like Gen X, it's like the coolest name ever. And I'm not a millennial technically, but does this apply to everyone? Yeah, it does. It's kind of the universal language of life, this thing called time. It's what you do with it. Let me ask him the same question. 90,000 that everybody in this room signed up for. Just gotta get through the 90,000 and then I'll be done and then I'll be happy and then I'll be ready to die. Just ready to go. Come on. No, there's a different calculation. It's this. And this is what my father didn't understand. That there's a different way to arrive at 90,000. You can do it in 45 years, or you can do it in about a week. How good would it feel if you accomplish what everybody else can accomplish in 45 years in 1 week? It would be like, oh, now I have time to live. Because I reached this 90,000 hour benchmark that apparently all of humanity is bought into. But not all of humanity. Not really. And like I said, it doesn't matter when you were born, it doesn't matter your age, your gender, where you're from. This calculation is what is embodied in the brilliance of the compensation plan. Tobin, how many markets do you have business in today? How many? 14. 40. I was thinking 14. I said no. Yeah. 40 different markets. So the sun never sets on your business, basically. It doesn't. I know that. So you and many others here in the room have accomplished your 90,000 hours a long time ago. Great. Because some people have figured out this equation. Nu Skin's job is simply to pay you so that, number one, you want to get there really, really fast and do it over and over and over again, and pay you in a way that once you're doing this, you can actually enjoy. The fun thing about gig economies, in my opinion, like these gigs, is when you think about what they mean. So Uber, who's taking an Uber? I use Uber all the time. Yeah? If you're an Uber driver, it's a great gig. I would do it just to talk to random people, actually. I'm not kidding. I think it would be fantastic, because again, I have no shame. Right? I would love it. The problem with it that I see, at the end of the day, you're a taxi driver. You're still in the other equation. You're still doing the 90,000 hours the other way. Unless you own a bunch of cars and then you have some other system outside of it where you're getting a percentage on things. No. Airbnb, fantastic. I use it with 2 properties that I have. I love it. It's great. But I would need a lot more properties for it to really provide me with this. Okay? So, gigs are great. It's just how handsomely do they reward you at the end of the day? That is really the question that you ask yourself as you evaluate. You know, Nu Skin is something to jump into. What is the upside? I saw from my first days with the company tremendous upside without even being introduced to a distributor. I just saw it in a brochure. Well, this is fantastic. And then it became too difficult for me to leave the company, as I've been working with distributors from all over the place, because that's another question that people like to ask me is like, well, why are you still an employee? You can ask me that question in the hallway after, perhaps, and I'll give the answer. But I love this quote. I love this quote. You know who John D. Rockefeller is? I think adjusted for inflation, I think he's still the wealthiest man that's ever lived when adjusting for inflation. And he said this. He was a businessman. I don't think that he understood business the way that my father did, which was train your competition and then be sad. I mean, that's ultimately what made my father hate his business. He hated it. He hated it. He would see his best friends leave and then become his enemies. It was awful to watch. Really, it was awful. Felt really, really bad. I like this because our founders understood this. They understood this point. Okay? I ask myself the question then, when it comes to where we're at today in this region, 27 markets. I ask myself the question a lot, what are people looking for? Number one, are people actually looking? Do people know what they want? For those that do, for those who are looking, for people who do know who they want, how does Nu Skin measure up as an option for doing something maybe a little bit differently? How does it measure up? I like to think that it measures up pretty well. But I'll give you one more example. Another story from my personal life about whether Nu Skin measures up. My sister-in-law, I have 5 of them. My wife has 5 sisters. No brothers. My poor father-in-law. Kept trying for the boy, didn't get it. Has 5 sisters. One of them was with us visiting in Copenhagen last week. She stayed with us for a little bit. She is a Nu Skin product fanatic. Okay? She has an ADR, so an auto ship, of over $800 per month. I think it's actually $900 per month. Out the door every month, can't live without it. Will not live without it. She sat down, I got back into town and we were having dinner, and she randomly said, I cannot tell you how great your products are. I said, thank you, I've put a lot of science into them, personally. She said, I can't begin to tell you how great your products are. You know what the problem with your company is? Too many great products. I said, I will take that problem any day. She said, it's really becoming a problem. I said, why? And then she told me how much she's spending per month on her Nu Skin products. But she said, I don't care. I like the way they make me look. I like the way they make me feel. I don't care. I said, wow. I would like to have a lot of you. I would like to have a lot of you everywhere. The thing is, we do. We do. The only problem is, people don't know. And it shouldn't surprise you, because I'm standing here from the birthplace of such a wonderful company that does billions in turnover every single year, and not a soul knows who we are. Seriously. You want to know the first time my family members heard about Nu Skin? Like cousins. Well, I have there's like big families in Utah, if you know something about Utah. They have like a lot of kids because they have so many wives. Maybe a few years ago they did. I have a big family, so many cousins. Would you like to know how many of these cousins have heard about Nu Skin? before October 29th of this year? None. None. It's like hundreds of people. Seriously, our family reunions are massive, like 500 people. No one. Until October 29th, when I sent them the link to the New Skin Live event that we did. And guess what? They said, messaged me saying, "You guys have products?" I'm not joking. Because it's a name and a logo and a building, and if you don't fill in the story, because nobody else will do it, because we pay that money for people to do that, it won't get told. They were blown away by the Galvanic spot. They were blown away by something as simple as omega-3 fatty acids. They're like, "Oh my gosh, that's awesome. You guys have that?" Yeah. Until October 29th, no one in my family, except for my immediate family, because they have to listen to us talk around Sunday dinner when we're all in town about Nu Skin. That is the only problem that we have. So when I say how do we measure up, it's not about measuring up. It's getting a chance to play. It's becoming a voice, becoming an option in the marketplace that we have chosen consciously to pay other people to talk about us and to share than we would pay for advertising. It was a choice. Why? Because for any of you, and I can attest to this, having done this work before, sometimes talking to people or sharing or whatever is maybe not comfortable. Maybe it's not comfortable. And so for people to incentivize people to do that and to do it very well, we pay what we pay. And then ultimately people generate those hours worked, and hopefully they get through it really, really fast so then they can start living or doing something else besides just those 90,000 hours. And that's the whole recipe, I think, behind Nu Skin. So when I look at this map and I say, okay, we have operations here. This is where we're open for business. And literally sometimes I'm dying inside because I can talk to people. Sometimes I want to just fly down to Italy, quickly learn some Italian, and start talking to people about Nu Skin. It's like I'm that anxious for Nu Skin to just do what it's done in other parts of the world. In this market, I think a lot of people know about Nu Skin. There are a lot of faithful product users in Norway. As a percentage, a lot more than in other markets, right? But how many people live in Norway? 5 million. Okay? But a good percentage of people at least know or heard. I'm convinced, I know for a fact, there are so many more people who know about Nu Skin in Norway than in Utah, USA. I know that for a fact. It took a live broadcast for people to actually figure out what this company was. So the only problem that we face, and it's really not a problem because like I said, I like problems and solutions. You could say that the problem is we're not the biggest region in the Nu Skin universe. We're not. Right now, we're about 6-7%, almost to 10%, getting to 10% of global revenue. Yeah, in EMEA. But we're dealing with small economies like France, Germany, Italy, Spain. I mean, there's not a lot of people that live in Europe, so we should be satisfied with 6, 7, 8%. Market share doesn't matter to me, but it should matter to you. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, it's the market share in a market that pays you. Yes, it generates revenue for the company, but we turn around and pay that out to you. So this map here, there should be Nu Skin flags everywhere. Just up and down Europe. It will happen. It's going to happen. I'm convinced of it. I'm absolutely convinced. We're doing things at the company to hopefully accelerate that growth. Things like new bonuses where we give an additional, well, several €100,000 that we put in towards certain behaviors every single month. We're going to fuel that a little bit more. The other things that we do at the company, well, you probably know about. We want to reward people for their hard work. We have these fun trips that we do. Trips are great. You can take your own trips. I would suggest you come on mine. I promise you they're going to be better than yours. I promise. They just will. We do things like shutting down entire freeways to take people to an NBA basketball game. You just close down Miami. Unless you can do that, I would suggest you come to our trips. A little more fun. No. We just want to play with all of you and have a good time as we're doing this. And hopefully not suffering through our 90,000 hours. That should not be the side of the equation that we are on, or at least these people in the room. Anyway, I want to thank you for inviting me here. This is my first time at a meeting in Norway. I hope to be back very soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nick. And you are very welcome back to Norway anytime. Just tell us. Ja, turene til Nu Skin. Og nesten bare si litt om det, da, så kan du gå på helt på slutten.